Happy New Year. This is a message to let people know where I am and what I've been doing. I know a lot of people probably have a lot of questions, a lot of concerns. Maybe even there's some rumors out there about what's happening with me. I know a lot of people have asked my friends and family. And so this is just a video to let people know exactly from me. And so I will say this, that I know that maybe you're already maybe starting to like write comments or direct message me saying, oh, look, he's finally here. But I probably won't answer those. I just think that there's going to be a lot. I don't really feel like answering that many questions, and I'm assuming this video will answer the questions that you need to know. And so first and foremost, just to let everybody know, I have been on a leave of absence from active ministry in the priesthood. And I have decided to make that decision permanent, that I will no longer return to the priesthood. This is a decision that has taken me a very long time. It isn't something that I've just made quickly and off of a whim. It's been going on for several years now. And it's a decision, though it has been difficult, that has been a blessing for me. I have discovered a lot about myself, and I have grown deeper in my faith in making this decision. So I have not abandoned my faith. I still respect the church. This is not something that I'm leaving because I'm getting married. I'm not getting married. This isn't also a decision that somebody else has made for me. I'm not being kicked out. This is my own decision. And I'm happy with it. So if your concern for me in this time has been my well-being and happiness, I appreciate it. And I'm glad to report to you that I am well, and I am very happy. Like I said, the decision has been difficult. It hasn't been the easiest, and there has been ups and downs, but it has been good for me. And I assume it will continue to be good for me. I don't know what I'm going to be doing from this point forward exactly. I have ideas, but I don't know exactly. I'm just kind of taking it a day at a time and making small plans here and there. If you're wondering where exactly I am, I happen to be in Golden, Colorado. Again, just trying to figure out my next steps. It's a beautiful place, and I'm happy here. I'm living with great people, and I have a good job. Everything is going well. I can plan to continue to work with people in general. The things that I loved about the priesthood, I realized I can do as a layperson, and I will want to continue to do that. I know that I also enjoyed giving homilies, and I know that many of you also enjoyed my homilies, and I appreciate it. And I maybe will continue to do those kinds of things too. Offer my own reflections and ideas off of the scriptures, maybe a theme of the day or a theme of the liturgical season or whatever it may be. I want to offer my insights. I want to offer what I feel like the Holy Spirit is telling me to tell people still. And I know that I was very successful with the videos I had posted before, and that's just one way that I think I can continue to do so. And so I want to maybe do that here in these videos as well. So if you want to leave my Facebook, I guess that's understandable. But if you don't, and you maybe want to continue to hear my reflections or just how I am doing and maybe a little bit of what I'm doing, you can continue to follow me, and I appreciate it. I guess a little reflection on the scriptures of these last couple of days. Today is the 8th. And I noticed that the readings for yesterday and today have been really good. And it's probably even maybe what inspired me to finally make this video. Because the basis of my theology, pretty much always, and especially in his last several years, has been what has been stated in the letters of John in our first readings yesterday and today. It's interesting to me that it takes almost the whole Bible. The letters of John are towards the end. It takes almost the whole Bible to get to this one phrase, and that is, God is love. And it seems like such a simple phrase, and we can think of it in simplistic terms of just saying, of course, God loves us, and that's a wonderful image. But I think it's a very powerful, very base, very fundamental thing, that God is love. And of course, it would be John, I think, to state that. It seems as if John, in the gospel with his name on it, and the letters attributed to him, tends to be focused on this love. And I understand why. Because it was at the core of Jesus' message. And it may have been difficult for other disciples, apostles, and people around Jesus to understand that. But I like to imagine John as just really getting it. One of the examples is that he followed Jesus all the way into his death. He was there at the cross. John understood this message of love. And it was partially from Jesus' words, but I do think it was mostly from Jesus' actions. And I think our Gospels yesterday and today give us a good example of that. We can look at those Gospels. We can see in those Gospels a message of how miraculous Jesus is. And that is there. I mean, they're two separate miracles. One, the feeding of the 5,000, and the other one, Jesus walks on water, calms the storm. This is something that is miraculous. And of course, I'm sure many people around Jesus' disciples, apostles, saw that and was like, whoa, how miraculous is this? And what a wonderful thing, how powerful this Jesus is. He must be a man of God. And maybe if they didn't even understand that this Jesus was God, they at least understood at some point that this man has something to do with God, represents God in some way, even if they didn't understand Jesus' divinity. And I think that is the important part of the miracle, though. And maybe it is just simply that. Yes, Jesus was powerful. Yes, Jesus did these miracles. But the true representation of who God is wasn't in the miraculous event. It's in what Jesus did those for. Yesterday, in the feeding of the 5,000, it starts off that Jesus, his heart goes out to these people because they're like sheep without a shepherd. And that's a message that we can take in so many different ways, but this is how I see it. There were obviously a lot of sheep, especially in the community of Israel. And these Israelites, the Jewish people, who had leaders in their faith, had religious leaders who are supposed to be their shepherds. But as we can see throughout all the other scriptures, and especially the Gospels, Jesus really had a hard time with these shepherds because they were supposed to be caring for their flock. They were supposed to show love to these sheep. But instead, they were more concerned of their own, I guess, political power. They were concerned with the particular religious practices and less concerned of the actual people. And so Jesus saw these people sitting there, wanting a message that was directed towards them. Instead, they were being forgotten. So they were like sheep without a shepherd. And so a moment comes up when they're hungry. Jesus is giving them wonderful messages, stuff that they can hear and say, like, this man probably is from God. Messages of love, something that maybe they never heard before. And so they're interested. And then they get hungry in the moment. And so in this moment, they need to be cared for. And so Jesus gives them care. He feeds them. Yes, it's a miracle. But some could see it as the miracle and then just stop there, wondering what this was about. And others, and I'd like to believe John sees this, sees what great love has been given to these people. They needed care, and they were cared for. something other religious leaders never were able to do. Yes, the miracle showed that this Jesus had authority, that this Jesus had some kind of divine power, and maybe that was needed. That was great. But the love, that's where God was. And then in today's gospel, where Jesus goes to the disciples in a scary moment, his own disciples, still confused about who Jesus is, still confused about their own faith, are like sheep without a shepherd. They're lost. They're confused. And so, yes, they could see it as this miraculous event of just Jesus walking on water. How weird is that? How powerful is that? And how amazed they should have been. And they probably were. It seems as they were also a little scared of that in itself. But that was more Jesus just showing, I am from God. Him being with them in a moment of fear, him comforting them, was the care that they needed. And I like to imagine John saw that. Maybe he didn't. But I like to imagine he did. And it's these actions and the words that maybe Jesus also spoke that hit John to the core, that made him fall in love with Jesus because Jesus loved him. And it was that he recognized. And it is in that love where John then more recognized this is who God is. Versus maybe in the miracle, and especially in whatever the other religious leaders, the scribes, the Pharisees, the high priests were doing in their own faith. John saw the love and saw that that's where God was. And I think that's what prompted him to constantly speak of this and write of this, so far as to make a powerful statement in his own letters that God is love. And if we think about that, then that means, and this is what makes it powerful, is that love is God. Now that maybe makes us a little upset. We may say, well, no, that seems like to be a maybe slight heretical statement, and it might be. But I think it's not because we're somehow demeaning God to maybe some simple form of romantic love that maybe we experience here on earth or something like that. I think it's not because we're misunderstanding God here. I think it's because we're misunderstanding love. And yeah, the world can cloud what that is, and probably on purpose. Evil is here to do that for us, so we don't understand who God is. But this, to me, shows why God is love and why love is God. It's because love is hard to understand. It does get clouded and mixed up, its meaning and its definition. But I don't think it's meant to be defined. Love is not meant to be understood in that way. Love is simply meant to be experienced. And if we keep going back to that God is love thing, then that means God is not meant to be understood. God is meant to be experienced. And we experience God when we love. And when we are loved. This is our purpose. This is what we're meant to do. This is the will of God for us. To love. To experience God in this world by loving one another. This is what I intend to continue to do with my life. I continue to love others, wherever they are, whoever they are. And that's it. And if they want to know where that love came from, they want to know my understanding of love, I will be able to explain to them, I believe that love is in a deeper, bigger spiritual reality than we know. And I believe that this love actually created us. And that we can be connected to this love in so many different ways. But that would be secondary. Primary is just simply to love first. And to open up myself to also be loved.